Hello YouTube vintage stereo collectors. This is an early 1970s Kenwood KR-2120 and these were sort of in the lower middle of the lineup for that time, but like a lot of things Kenwood or Sansui, Pioneer, even the lower end models received the same quality workmanship. And I mean just simple things like this faceplate. It's an actual casting. It's very well made. Metal chassis with circuit boards mounted on it. It doesn't flex much. I mean, it was well built. Thick metal at the rear. You plug in an RCA cable, it doesn't flex. It's very solid that way. But I wanted to talk about some of the technical things in rebuilding it. I don't have any speakers on it right now. I just wanted to show you a nice faceplate this has. And of course these Kenwood tuners, and this is, an analog tuner, all the antenna on it right now is this little 300 ohm transformer. It's picking up stations from 50 kilometers away. 4 out of 5, full stereo, hardly any noise. These are excellent tuners. I changed the backing lights, the old fuse lamps, every single one was burned out. And so it now has the LED ones, the 8-volt ones, because it's an 8-volt AC feed. So it gives, kind of brings out the true color, the nice blue. One thing about these, the stereo lamp and the indicator lamp are tiny wheat bulbs. And they're actually, you're better off replacing those with incandescent like the original. And I use those model train bulbs, 12-volt bulbs, so they're not running at full brightness. They'll last a long time. And there's a reason. The circuit in the multiplex circuit on the tuner board, it drives the stereo lamp. A transistor comes on, switches on, current flows through it. I found it very tricky to get the current stable with an LED. You have to use dropping resistors. There's heat coming off the dropping resistor, and it's an unregulated power supply. This is the key right here. Very simple power supply, a couple of caps, full wave bridge, some dropping resistors. So depending how strong the signal is, depending on how loud you're playing it, the voltage varies. And LEDs they need constant current, constant voltage. And I've just found to get the stereo beacon to come on properly and to stay on without flickering, you're better off with the incandescent bulb. Same with this, the miniature bulb that's in here. You can get an LED to go in there, but you're dropping 20 volts down to about 2 volts. So really, there's no savings in power. Anyway, some of the other technical things in this, I got this one for a very good price. It was advertised as one channel out, and sometimes it's a simple fix, sometimes it's not. In this case, on this channel here, the right channel, one output transistor gone, the PNP pre-driver was gone. So there had been some kind of a overdrive situation. But what I noticed later on when I was cleaning it up, there's a tiny hunk of wire shorting out the right channel terminals. So that's what killed it. And instead of a 1 amp fuse in the B+ line for that power amp, it was a 3 amp. So I don't know what somebody was thinking. So anyway, what I do, there are actually 3 different output transistors, and this is a complementary, quasi-complementary set. They're all the same NPN power transistor, but there are 3 different brands, 3 different types, and that works, but they should be the same. So I use Motorola Tip 31Cs, which are just a little beefier than what was on here, the original 2SC 1060s. And then you use a PN2222 and a 2907 to drive them, and that replaces the original ones. Gives you a little more voltage and current handling, should be very robust. But one of the key things to rebuilding these, inside of these there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 little potentiometers. The 5 on the tuner board and 3 on the preamp and power amp board. And every one I've gone into, you can clean them up, you can tighten them up. They're never stable. They used great quality material on the rest of the amp, but those bias pots, the open ones, were terrible. Absolutely terrible. You've got to replace every one for the unit to run. And the idle current on these needs to be very stable so that the transistors don't go in thermal runaway. So even if you're only going to replace the ones that set the idle current, at least you're ahead there. Because the originals, I've seen people put in the best capacitors, all new transistors, and they leave the bias pots. Why? Anyway, with these I use the ones that are sealed. They're 30 turns stop to finish, so you can get a very precise adjustment. They're sealed, they don't get dirty. They're stable. I've been using them for a few years. There's different brands out there, but you can get them fairly reasonably. And then replace all of the electrolytic capacitors, every single one. You just have to for it to run properly. And then, little things. This one here, for instance, was very, very dirty. I think it had been stashed in a basement or garage probably could be for 20 years. And some of them, you clean it up, and the thing is so nice underneath, hardly a scratch on the faceplate. The actual plastic in here, the plastic escutcheon, just the odd little scuff. So I think this one quit working several years ago and was shelved. Because in the day you paid quite a bit of money to get a unit like this. We didn't have quite as much a throwaway culture. But it cleaned up the chassis. I mean, no corrosion on it. Just, baked on dirt. Anyway, that's just a little overview on this. Thanks for watching and listening.